Hi, evolutionaries. Welcome back. We have a great show for you today. I just wanted to say that it is just going to be amazing. We're going to be talking to Efficiency Manitoba, and in particular, we're going to talk to Allison Lund. She used to work for the hydro energy programs, and now she's moved over to Efficiency Manitoba, just like the whole team. And she's going to tell us a little bit about how the program works and how does this impact you when you're building your new home. Hi, Allison. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, did you want to tell me a little bit about the program and how long has it been around, too?
Absolutely. Yeah, so just a little bit of background. I run the New Homes program for Efficiency Manitoba. We did offer a program at Manitoba Hydro for many years by the same name. And actually, in terms of how long we've had an offer in market, we tend to have a rebate available for residential new construction kind of ever since we've started offering demand side management and energy saving offers to customers of Manitoba. And then when a new building code is implemented or adopted, we kind of revise the program in order to make it fit better with what the next level of codes are likely to be. So we've had many iterations of the New Homes program over the years. This particular offering has been in market since about the fall of 2015. And it's been delivered by Efficiency Manitoba since April of 2020.
Wow. Okay. So the program's actually been around for a while. I know that a lot of people don't really know about it. When I know, like, with my capacity for what I do for Evolve Green, usually when I'm talking to people who've called in and they're asking me, what do I do? I want to make this house more efficient. And I, always say, why don't you start with the new home program, follow the guidelines and see what you qualify for. So in saying that, who qualifies? Who is your person that's going to come to you and that's really going to take advantage of this program?
Yeah, so the New Homes program is designed with Manitoba home builders in mind. So we are, targeting builders of residential, single detached or small multifamily homes, generally 3 stories or less. That being said, homeowners who are managing their own project or who are acting as prime contractors on their own build and may not actually have a builder per se are more than welcome to apply to the program. So it's a little bit flexible in that way.
Okay, so it's not just the general contractor, it could be something else. Now, all right, so this program, what is the goal though? Like, I mean, obviously there must have been something in mind when we were talking about when you guys, started implementing this. Like what did you guys want to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. So all Efficiency Manitoba programs are designed to help Manitobans save energy, money, and the environment. The New Homes program in particular does this by encouraging home builders and homeowners to adopt energy efficient building practices and assemblies and technologies in order to help save energy. And we have a couple different streams in the New Homes program that you can participate along. So the first is called the Prescriptive Path. Under the Prescriptive Path, we're asking the builder to incorporate 10 specific energy saving upgrades, and we outline those in what we call the Prescriptive Path Technical Standard. So it's fairly easy to follow. It's essentially a builder checklist. And when those 10 upgrades are incorporated into the project, the builder or the homeowner, whoever has filled out the application, will receive a $1,200 rebate. The other approach with the New Homes program, and frankly, the one that we recommend for most people who are undertaking a new residential construction project, is called the Performance Path. And under the Performance Path, essentially you work with a third party who's a certified energy advisor licensed by Natural Resources Canada. And you have the home energy modeled and scored to determine how energy efficient it might be relative to a similar or comparable home built to minimum code. And so what we're asking for on the Performance Path is for the energy efficiency of the project to be at least 20% more efficient than that similar or comparable reference house. And we pay a sliding scale rebate on performance path. So there's a little bit more money on the table in that stream, which can make it a really valuable option. We pay between $1,500 and up to $12,000 for net zero energy construction. And we also provide a rebate for the consultant fees of working with the modeler. So we've really tried to eliminate a lot of the barriers to participating on what might be kind of a new approach for some folks working with an energy model.
Interesting. So I guess I just want to understand a little better. So when you say 20% better, now that 20% better, that just means the upgrades that the builder is incorporated in this new home is 20% better than a normal stick frame home? Is that what we're talking about here, or normal construction?
So we're evaluating that percentage using the EnerGuide rating scale. So that's Natural Resource Canada's method of evaluating how energy efficient a building's design is. So all the specifications for the home, the assemblies, the orientation, the windows, the mechanical systems, all of those details are input into a software, and the software is using a home with the same geometries, built at the same location, with only minimum code specifications from an energy perspective, and then comparing the two. So the home you intend to build, and then, you know, what is the minimum performance of this home if you stripped out everything other than what you had to do legally because of code. And when we say, you know, 20% better or 20% more efficient, what we're really talking about is the estimated annual energy consumption in, you know, cubic meters of gas or kilowatt hours for that home relative to that reference house. So we're really, you know, we're not talking about anything else. We're not talking about water use. We're only talking about how much energy that building is likely to consume relative to what EnerGuide's minimum code reference house is.
Excellent. So if somebody is, you know, going to build a passive home, for instance, and they're going and choosing probably a passive home builder, I would imagine there are a few of them in Manitoba, and they do an amazing job of going through an energy footprint. But then they need to work with an auditor as well, as you mentioned in there. And the auditor's job is to go in there and discover what percentage there is. Is that correct? Or
yeah, so the model will the energy model is done in the design stage, and that's something that's kind of really important to mention here for this program and for other programs that are offered by Efficiency Manitoba, is that we need the applicant to send in the application form and kind of start working with us before the design is finalized. Right. And, you know, that may seem obvious, but we do get a number of inquiries from people that are, you know, they're quite advanced in their stage of construction, or maybe they've already built the home. Really, we want to be able to work with those individuals to influence all of the design decisions that affect efficiency, and that is best done in the design stage. There's not a lot of changes that we can make once, you know, the home is framed or insulation's already been put in, and that sort of thing.
That makes sense. And can we talk about that performance model? Like, are these significant changes that you're asking for? Like, is there like certain ones? Like, could you go through a little bit of a list of that just to give people an idea?
So it's probably not going to be a very satisfying answer, but really it completely depends on the situation. So we have everything from people that are, you know, they're starting with a set of plans which are minimum code plans, and maybe they've got a budget limitation and they just want to know, you know, what is the most cost effective way for me to get to 20% better than. We also have people, like you mentioned, who are pursuing other energy efficient objectives. Maybe they want to build to net zero ready or net zero. Maybe they're interested in passive house, or they're just really concerned with, you know, solid building science principles, like getting a very airtight, super insulated building envelope, and they want to know the best way to get that done. And really, answer to that question can only be given by the energy modeler, and once we're working with a set of plans. So the individual recommendations are just that. They're customized to the project and to the goals of the individual who's building that project. There may be no changes required, or there may be, $20,000 or $30,000 of investment required to reach
Right.
whatever that goal is. So that's the beauty of the performance path. In working with the modeler, you can ask all these kinds of questions and you can get a really tailored set of answers that'll help guide you in your decision-making process.
That's very interesting. So the auditor, though, is the energy modeler, though, right? We're talking about the same person, or is that sometimes two different people?
So when you say auditor, if you're referring to the individual who comes to the house at completion, maybe it's helpful if I back up a little and kind of walk through the application process for.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes, please.
For the audience. So the way it works, like I mentioned, you reach out to the New Homes program when you're in the design phase. We connect you if you're interested in the performance path, as we recommend, with the third-party energy modeler. And once you've settled on a final design, so you've got your drawings, your set of plans that are final, you submit that to us along with that estimated performance score that the model has produced.
Oh, okay.
We issue an approval. So we've kind of looked over everything and we say, yes, this design is going to meet our requirements. And furthermore, we estimate that your rebate will be this amount, based on the detail in the plan. And with the approval, the builder then can go ahead and, construct the project. Once the project is complete, then we send out an evaluator, which is the phrase that we use. And at this time, yes, the evaluator does happen to be, in most cases, the same organization that has also done the energy modeling. So that's convenient, certainly, for performance path customers. That may not always be the case, but it will be the same person, the same friendly face you were dealing with your energy modeling is the individual that comes to the home at completion. We perform what's called a blower door test. And what that is basically just a test to measure the airtightness of the building envelope. And airtightness has a really big effect on how energy efficient that building is. So it's a really critical part of the whole process. And what it looks like is basically this big fan that gets installed usually in the front or back door of the home. We do some pressurizing with the fan, and then we can determine how much air is escaping through that building envelope. Once we've done that, we walk through the house to kind of visually verify any of the elements that we can at completion. And then if everything looks good, that's really it. So you've applied at the beginning, built the house, you've got the free blower door test and the evaluator visit at the end. And then we process your application for rebate. And we also provide a bunch of extras, which can be really beneficial. So if it's performance path, you're going to get an official EnerGuide label from Natural Resources Canada.
Oh, that helps with the resale value later too, right?
Yeah, so there are a number of studies that support that theory that a home with energy efficient upgrades or with the label can have a higher resale value than a similar home that lacks those upgrades. And I think that as time goes on, more and more people are seeing the value of energy efficiency, and we all know the cost of energy is going to rise in the future. So it's a great investment to make. We also issue from Efficiency Manitoba what we call an official certificate of energy efficiency for the project. So you've got your federally backed label from Enercan, you've got your provincially backed label from Efficiency Manitoba. And then there's a whole bunch of non-financial benefits, which I think are also really important to mention. And these apply whether you're a prescriptive path or performance path applicant. When we're talking about energy efficient buildings, these are buildings that are, they're more comfortable to live in, they're quieter, they're more durable, Where energy is concerned, they're more resilient. So in the case of a power outage or something like that, they're going to retain their heat better in the winter, or their air conditioning better in the summer, before you have a problem there. And yeah, we talked about resale value, which is another important consideration for energy efficient homes. So a lot of reasons to participate in the New Homes program.
Yes.
That are beyond just the rebate.
I don't think a lot of people actually really know. Like I said, people, when they come to me in the beginning stages of their planning, they don't seem to have ever heard of it. And I know I send a lot of people your way. I don't like to be the middleman there either, because you know your program best, and how to get everybody involved at the correct timing. I think it's really important to have the foundation. The foundation of any renewable energy system too would be having a great house to start with. You know, build it right, get that envelope right, the insulation right, go with your low consuming LEDs and all of the other things that are on that performance path. And it's really just going to make everything so much better, right? You're absolutely right. They would be quieter. I would imagine, hey, you wouldn't be able to hear things going on the street if you're in an urban setting. I'm just going to break for a quick commercial from one of our sponsors at Wolf Enterprises, and we're going to be right back with you in 30 seconds. Welcome back. We're talking to Allison Lund with Efficiency Manitoba and the New Home program. It's a rebate program dedicated to really helping you do environmentally sound building practices with your new home construction, so that you both have a nicer environment inside this home. Its energy footprint's a lot lower, and they give you money back to do that. So that's pretty cool. But I do wanted to talk about a little bit, what's the average amount of rebate do you see, like for the performance path versus the first one?
The prescriptive path, yeah. So
yeah.
That's a great question. So prescriptive path is a fixed rebate. So it's a bit easier to participate in prescriptive, but the energy savings potential is a bit more limited. So we pay a $1,200 per home or per unit rebate currently for prescriptive path. And then under the performance path, of course, it completely depends on the final energy performance of that project. I guess if I were to guess what a typical performance path rebate would be, it's probably in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $3,000. So it's considerably richer. Yeah, it's quite a bit richer than what prescriptive path offers. And it's important to mention too that we are also providing a rebate on top of that for the consulting fees of the energy modeler.
So that's paid for too. That's not something they pay for it ahead of time and then they get it back if they followed everything. Is that how that would work?
It's good to talk about the process. So the way it works is in the design stage, the applicant is contracting with that energy modeler to do whatever work is required. And Efficiency Manitoba is not part of that particular relationship, although we do refer them to the energy modeler. So let's say you were to work with the modeler and he came back and said, okay, based on this design, you're 10% better than the reference house. And as we know, you need to be 20% better in order to qualify for the New Homes program.
Right.
If you decided you didn't want to make the changes necessary to the building design in order to reach 20%, you would be on the hook for the consulting fees and the time that you spent with that modeler. That almost never happens. Most people who are participating, that's their goal is to reach that.
Yeah, right. They're already there. They're pretty committed, right? So,
right. And so what we do, if your design is 20% or better, we ask the modeler to hold off on invoicing until the end of the project. So this is great. Obviously, it's great for homeowners, but it's really great also for, tract builders or builders that just don't want to deal with that cash flow inconvenience of having the invoice come in at the beginning of the project and then not having the rebate until the end. So we've solved that problem, probably 95% of the time. You're going to have your rebate in hand from Efficiency Manitoba by the time you get your invoice from the modeler. So
nice. Oh, well, that's excellent news. And to be 20% better, like, what does that look like? Like an average scenario? It wouldn't cover everybody, but like, what kind of things would they have to do that?
Again, yeah, it's a hard question to answer
I know,
because
just average. Yeah.
really depends on the house and the geometry. Even something like the direction that the house is facing can make a big difference, as much as maybe 5 or 8% in the overall energy efficiency, just because of the solar gains that come from, maybe having more windows facing south versus if you've got more windows facing north. But I would say that a lot of the upgrades that we often see with applicants in the performance path stream would be things like ICFs. We see people that are using exterior rigid insulation more and more. So often that means you're wrapping the entire exterior of the house with, ideally at least a couple inches of rigid insulation instead of just doing the insulation between the studs. Although, really the beauty of performance path is you can decide what upgrades you want to undertake, and we can use the model to ascertain, if that will get you to your goal. So, the sky's the limit on the kinds of upgrades you could make. But with modest mechanical system upgrades and careful air sealing and insulation that is, more than what you see in average homes, it's entirely possible in most cases to get to that 20%.
Well, one of the things I noticed too on the passive homes that I've been in is they've included the double door system again. And this is something we've really come away with stick frames in the last 50 years, I would have to say, where we've got this, big front door and that's it, right? There's no secondary doors anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we used to see like things like a screen door and a storm door and all of these things. But one of the things I've noticed now, of course, it's better insulated. It has, a lot more weather stripping on it and there is a seal between. But I've been in some homes where they have this barrier and it's specific, it's probably a foot or more between the doors and they're both insulated very well. Like, so they've got the stripping heavily on both doors. And I've noticed that in those homes. So that's the sort of thing we're talking about here, is incorporating just simple, sometimes ideas. Sometimes it even is stemming off of something a little bit older that used to happen all the time, but we don't do it anymore, right? This is where the energy modeler is going to be able to tell you those things.
Yeah, you've got it exactly right. So that's, one example of an upgrade that a particular project might undertake. There's really, maybe millions of ways that you can make small differences in the energy efficiency of the home, and the model can capture the impact of making those changes. So yeah, it's a really great tool.
It's interesting too. I built a house over in St. Anne, Manitoba a number of years ago, and it was, I think, called Energy Smart program at the time. And I know I qualified for some rebates, I think, at the time, but it was because I did an open loop geosystem that was also heating my water, like the excess energy. And then I had designed the house to go with our 3-ton geo. So it was a 1,500 square foot house with this geo, which sounds like, 3-ton, that should be too small. But we made sure, the ceilings were 8 feet, not 10 feet. All of these things went into the model of how we saved energy and we did extra insulation, of course, the R60 in the ceiling. The pitch of the roof was, I think, a 512 to be able to better insulate up there and things of that nature. So really working with the modelers is where you need to go with this, is what I'm trying to say. I used to love that house. I always felt very environmentally controlled. You know, and you know, it's, I can't even imagine, you know, it was even in the summer, the geo system I felt was very comfortable. There wasn't cold spots or hot spots or anything like that. It
Yeah.
was
So
very
while we're
comfortable.
talking about mechanical systems, I think that that's a great point. Is that with the new homes program, you know, we don't set any requirements for mechanicals. So if you want to heat and cool with something like a geothermal system, or maybe you want to try out a cold climate air source heat pump, or you
Right?
can use traditional heating and cooling methods as well. Really, the flexibility is there. And again, if you're a performance path applicant, the model will capture the benefits of whatever mechanical technology you want to use. And in your case, it sounds like you use the model to size your HVAC system, and
Yeah.
that's another big benefit to participating and using that energy model. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we definitely learned a lot through the process at the time. And I don't think it was nearly as developed as it is today, because that was back in 2006, and it was a slightly different program back then as well. We didn't quite qualify for Energy Star, but we used the information gained from the program to make significant changes to the home in its initial design, which I think we benefited by savings all the way through.
for sure.
You know, it really didn't cost very much to run that home. And I know we were probably one of the first homes in Manitoba to be LED as well. So, you know, it was a very interesting process though. And I really quite enjoyed learning all about it at the time. So with your program, what is like, you have some customers who are really striving for like a zero home, right? How close do they get? And is it like, you know, extra thick walls? Like how are they getting there? Like average, like those ones that really want to do it. What do you
Sure.
see?
So every year we see more and more participation from project owners that want to, you know, reach a very high performance target, something like net zero energy, which is, I'm sure, a phrase that many of you have heard about. Just to give kind of a definition for that, when we say net zero, what we're really talking about is that the site produces as much energy on an annual basis as it is estimated to consume on an annual basis. So while of course, you know, depending on when the sun is shining and the weather patterns and all that sort of stuff, you are still drawing energy from the grid. You're also contributing energy back onto the grid, such that if you were to tally up you know, the pluses and the minuses on an annual basis, you'd be at a zero. So that's what we mean when we say net zero. For extra clarity, net zero does not mean no energy bill. And that's a misconception that exists. So I just want to clear that
Yeah.
up. But I mean, definitely you can perform calculations. Again, a model can help with that to estimate what your energy bill reductions would be, and they're considerable. So we have seen every year more and more net zero participation. It does take a lot of work, a lot of iterations of the model. It takes a significant financial upgrade. If I were going to estimate for a single detached home, you're probably looking at somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000, depending on all the choices that you make in order to get to net zero. And you're making considerations about things like, you know, do I want to have cooling in my home? Because that's adding load. And every time you add load, you need to add more production. So generally, we're talking about adding solar panels
That's
to
yeah,
offset.
of course. Yeah, that's interesting though. You should talk about cooling, because let's talk about the envelope again for a minute, because if you build in an extremely energy efficient fashion, generally speaking, you're going to need a lot less heat and a lot less cooling. But what you're saying is if the cooling is still in the design, that it would add to the energy load for the modeling purposes, correct?
Yeah, so that's just one example to illustrate the kinds of decisions that someone would need to make when they've set out toward a goal of net
Of
zero.
net zero. Yeah.
We had a customer many years ago that I always think about when I'm explaining this concept, and he was very determined to build a net zero home for him and his wife, but it was really important to him to have a heated pad in his garage because he did a lot of work in the garage, and so that that's a big comfort consideration for him. It was really important, but it does add quite a bit of energy use. So then that had to be offset. And I mean, it's not what you'd traditionally see in a net zero project, but it just kind of goes to show that everyone has their own goals and objectives, and it's just a matter of figuring out what the trade-offs are to get you there. While we're talking about upgrades required to get to net zero, maybe I can talk a little bit about solar. I often get the question, how is it going to work if I want to now or want to later put kind of a solar array or a solar system on the roof of my house? And for the new homes program, if you're right now designing a new home and you're thinking about incorporating a solar array into the project, that's something that can actually boost your energy performance in the model. And the model is also useful to help you determine exactly how much solar production you need or how much you can fit, or determine what the appropriate slope of the roof should be, or even what cardinal direction that roof slope should face in order to maximize the production of the solar panels. Yeah. So I know this is starting to sound like just a big advertisement for energy modeling, but it really is such a useful tool for builders and for people that are designing projects. And so for folks that are reaching those really high levels of performance, like 70, 80, 90% better than, or net zero, which roughly equates to about 100% better than, renewables are a requirement. And so solar photovoltaics are the way that most people in Manitoba are getting to those levels of performance.
Oh, excellent. And one of the things I've noticed, and certainly the direction I've taken my company, Evolve Green, in, and it happens to be my specialty, but I love storage. So for me, the technology is really there now. And what we're seeing with the technology is the capability to actually not connect to your grid per se. So what we do is we put the storage in with the essential loads and everything that's going to run in case there is a power outage for the customer. And then we do something that's called a grid assist. It sounds like we're doing something with the grid, but we're actually not. It goes to the point of selling, but then does not sell. Does that make sense? So, although in most instances, the customer is still required to put in a bidirectional meter and go through the same processes as having a grid tie, we don't actually sell to hydro. We store that energy and actually utilize it at different times of the day when the solar production is gone. And then we use the solar to bring the batteries back up the next day as well. So, but one of the things that it offers the customer kind of that security, especially if a lot of people have home-based businesses these days, right? So maybe a home daycare or their office is there. A lot of people are working from home. People have medical devices and things of that nature too. So I wanted to ask, how does the storage, like solar system with storage, is it just treated the same? Like you would just incorporate it the same way?
It's good that you brought this up. So at this time, in order to participate in Efficiency Manitoba programs, you do have to be grid tied. So you have to be a customer of Manitoba Hydro with either a gas or an electric account. So it sounds to me like those individuals that are purely that you're describing there are purely off grid?
No.
Okay.
They're still actually grid tied, but the grid becomes a backup to their system versus the other way around. We are not the backup. You hydro becomes the backup.
I wasn't sure if you were talking about completely off grid or not. So just for
No,
clarity
we do
for
have
the
a lot of
audience.
families. Yeah, we do have a lot of
Yeah.
families going completely off grid these days, but a lot of people like the security of having the grid there as well. And the way the technology now works is we can offer them that. We can give them the best of both worlds, where in fact, even my own home is the grid is a backup versus the other way around. So,
Right.
but I mean, it's nice. For like my house is a lot bigger, so I have a lot more energy that I consume. But when we're talking about these homes, a lot of times they tend to be smaller too. We should mention that, right? So people who are going for a true net zero.
Yeah.
But when they incorporate these solar systems, the solar system is added into the modeling. And yes, they're a grid connected customer. That's a good point though, because I have had that question.
So they could benefit from our program and our incentives as long as they are grid tied, as long as they hold an electric or a gas account. How much energy they use, we're not policing that, certainly. And again, Efficiency Manitoba is separate and distinct from Manitoba Hydro, but in order for us to claim the energy savings, it is a requirement that that individual is a Manitoba Hydro customer. So it sounds to me like this case would be totally welcome in the program. We have no concerns or fundamental problem with storage. It enhances the resilience, like we were talking about earlier, for those customers. So if that's something that they want to do, then we're here to support that.
Wonderful. So my last question on that is, you talked about if they have to have an electric or gas account. So a lot of ways that people go off grid is or try to achieve this net zero or whatever, they're using gas appliances. Would that then still qualify them for the program if they decided not to use the main grid but they use the gas?
Oh, you're asking some questions I hadn't considered.
I hadn't considered it either until you mentioned it. So I went, oh, so that might be something we have to look into then, right?
Yeah, I think I'll reserve answering that question, but it's something that we'd be more than happy to look into with our customers when they're considering putting in an application.
Well, when you said that, I went, wait a minute, you're right. Because a lot of times, like I know when I'm designing for off-grid homes, the customer is going to go propane. So, I mean, it's gas appliances with a propane conversion kit. And, that's, how we deal with it. So, that would be the stove, the dryer, sometimes
Right.
even a forced air.
We're not talking about gas appliances here, though. We're talking about a natural gas account with Manitoba Hydro.
Correct.
So I thought the question you were asking was if they lack an electric account but have a gas account only to power their appliances, and that is
and their heating source. Yeah.
Then yes, if the heating is a gas connection, if it was just like a gas range or something like that, we might have to have a conversation. But yes, I mean that without getting too far into the weeds, the intent of the program is to encourage energy saving. We happen to have to require that you're a Manitoba Hydro customer in order to offer the incentives. And beyond that, we're flexible and open to looking at things on a case by case if there's special instances.
Well, I wouldn't have raised the question except for the way you phrased your answer. I went, okay. Because we do deal with like propane, like where people are going to propane for their main appliances and their heating sources, especially for insurance purposes. Like there's certain things that qualify as a main heating source.
Right, but they're not buying propane from Manitoba Hydro, so that's kind of where I want to make this.
No. That's currently what they do. But I'm saying if they had the option of having a gas, like because I know like out here in Marchand, we're just off a main gas line right here. So like, I just wondered if that was also an option. So I think she's gonna look into that right now, right? I'm curious now too. So that's my question to you. But I just wanted to thank you so much for coming onto the program today, Allison. You were just a treasure. I think you answered a lot of questions, and I know we're gonna have Prairie Geo on for part 4 of our passive solar. And I really wanted to bring you here because I think a lot of people don't understand this program, and I think it's truly exciting. And you've been involved has it been since 2015?
Yeah, so I've been looking after this program since 2015. For people that want to learn more about the New Homes program, they're certainly welcome to check us out online at efficiencymb.ca/new homes. And there are many other offers as well available to Manitobans. So if you're not building a new home, but maybe you're looking to make an upgrade, or you're in the market for new appliances or anything like that, definitely check out Efficiency Manitoba's website before you make any decisions. And yeah, we're here to support and answer any questions about how you can save energy, money, and the environment in Manitoba.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Allison. And I hope to talk to you again as things progress into the season. I'm going to see if there's anything that the customers are saying out there when they come to you. What's the average mistake? I think we need to come back on that one.
Yeah, we can do a V2. That'll be great.
That
Thanks
sounds
so
great.
much for giving me the opportunity to speak about the program today.
Thank you so much, Allison. Well, that's it for today's show. And I just wanted to thank Allison, was just amazing. And I really hope to have her on the show again. I've been communicating with her for probably a few years in the capacity of what I do with Evolve Green, but it was super nice having her here to clear up some of these things. So that's it for tonight, evolutionaries. We'll see you next time. And we're going to be talking to Prairie Geo for our passive homes part 4.